Hello, and welcome to the episode of Todd Talks, and Todd Talks people listen. Where are the Chacos? Where are the Chacos? Hopefully. No, seriously, where are those Chacos? I'm getting hungry here. Today, we have a very interesting matchup to talk about, because we're talking about Martian Manhunter versus the Silver Surfer, a matchup that not a lot of people have actually requested in a good way. Because a lot of people, as I've noted before, were thinking Martian Manhunter versus Piccolo. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that. This matchup's much better. And it's going to be interesting, despite what you might be thinking who will win. We shall see. And remember, I am back in my win column, so I really need this one. Because we all know who's coming next. And that crap's going to get messy. Anyway. So, let us start with Martian Manhunter. So, his tale is very interesting because it depends on the timeline you are a part of, especially in terms of what is happening with Mars. But generally, when you refer to the Martian civilization is a super advanced civilization, bounds of technology, relative peace, etc., etc. But everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. I'm kidding. That was a good segue, though. Was a brain there. No, everything changed actually when John Jones, that's Jean with apostrophe, Jones apostrophe, was born alongside his brother Malafalak. And I'm actually saying that correctly because I've heard that name across multiple franchises. Thank you, Justice League and various movies. Oh, and Supergirl. But yes, him and his brother Malafalak were born, and Malafalak had a problem at the genetic level. He could not do psychic communication like the rest of the Martian people. And this led him to not just resent his brother, Jean, who was an incredibly powerful telepath, among other things, but the entirety of Martian civilization. So, unlike in the Justice League cartoon where the white Martians wiped him out, it was actually Malafalak who did that. He created a virus that infected the Martians in their minds. Yeah, really. And because of this, every time they would use their psychic powers, which he actually tricked them into doing, they would basically burst into flames and die. And this led to his child and his wife being burst into flames right in front of him. And this is where things get tricky, because depending on which timeline you're in, he either gets transported near that moment to Earth, or in the preview, we see the scientist dude, Dr. Saul Erdel, transport John to Earth, but this was hundreds of years before he met his wife and his daughter. Either way, he gets transported to Earth and he realizes soon enough that basically all of Mars is dead. Basically. Because we all know in comics, nothing ever stays dead forever. Especially when there's money to be made. Anyway, so after accidentally killing the scientist by showing off his epic skills, Jean soon wandered the Earth as John Jones. Okay, look, I know Boomstick made fun of this, but, come on, guys. Can we get a little more creative here? I mean, you're comic writers. Give us a better name, like Jonathan Joestar, or something. If you want to call him John, fine. But from John Jones to John Jones, really? Anyway. So he spent his early years on Earth being a detective and using his psychic abilities, among other things, to help the people of Earth and solve crimes. Eventually, he was outed, and he became the true Martian Manhunter. Now, ironically, he had that title on Mars, where he was actually a police officer, too, which is weird, because obviously there's no men on Mars. Not yet! But hey, in Marvel, there's mutants on Mars. That totally isn't backfiring at all. Anyway, don't get me started on X-Men. I'm loving what's going on in the arcs, but man, I'm just can't they just leave the mutants alone? My gosh. I mean, we all remember what just happened with Jean Grey. Okay, cue the bagpipes. But eventually, as the now exposed Martian Manhunter, John Jones became a key member of the Justice League in its many, many, many forms. And I do mean many. Because he did not start out in the original Justice League. He was a part of the Justice League of America, Justice League International, Justice League of Detroit, regular Justice League eventually, and so on and so forth. So again, unlike the cartoon, that's not the main canon that the comics are. So, but even with that, he became one of the most valued members in the League's history because he felt a profound duty to protecting Earth and its people, and obviously his superhero teammates. Jean is known for being very wise, very stoic, very self-sacrificing if the situation calls for it, and it's called for it many times. But when they need him in a battle, he's ready to fight. And over the years, he's continued to assume many identities among humanity to better learn from them and know them well and truly. And he has a profound love for Earth, and that's why he's so willing to defend it. Now, there have been, of course, other interpretations of Jean, not just in the Justice League cartoon, but Young Justice, where the Martian civilization is actually fully intact, or the New 52, where he's much more shrewd and not afraid to do certain things with his powers to, screw with people or make it so that people didn't know about him. He literally wiped his existence in a certain super group, there you go, called Stormwatch from people's memories so that no one would know about him until he just showed up to help lead the newly formed Justice League of America. That was a thing. that was like a grittier version of John Jones. But overall, he's an incredibly kind, loving, and respectful member of the superhero community, which is why he's called upon so many times to join these super teams, not just because of the overabundance of superpowers that he has. Because apparently, ladies and gentlemen, when you're a Martian, you jacked AF, okay? And I'm not just talking about physical strength or even mental strength. He has the ability to alter his physiology in numerous ways. He can, this is true, when he turns invisible, he's literally just depriving his body of the ability to reflect light, which is what we all do, whether we realize it or not, and that's how he turns invisible. And then he can harden, no jokes, his body to become invulnerable or superpowered. Now this is a key thing we got to talk about here. Everyone compares him to Superman, and that's both fair and unfair at the same time. Now, Superman himself has said that John Jones is the most powerful being on Earth, which is debatable for various reasons, but that would put him on level on or above Wonder Woman, and we all know how fast and strong she is, and various other people like Green Lantern, The Flash, Shazam, and so on and so forth. But but the reason we can't directly compare him to Superman is because technically Superman's power is infinite. Technically. Okay, like solar radiation, we all know the story by this point. That being said, John Jones has canonically taken on the Justice League and survived in the New 52. That was actually a key part of their story, was that even though it got retconned later on, don't ask. New 52 was both great and messy all at the same time, and that's just going to be part of its lore. Almost like the DCEU Ghost Snyderverse. Also, Rebel Moon. Yeah, very excited. No, I really am. But, so he's actually beaten the Justice League. He's taken on numerous foes over the years and has proven himself time and time again. Now, in terms of power, again, in speed, he can rival Superman on certain elements and feats. He actually helped move the moon and the planet once, alongside Superman and Wonder Woman, I believe. So yeah, he that strong. He once injured Kryptonians just by punching them, and we all know how tough they are. So that's part of that, reinforcing of his body. That's how powerful he can get. He can tell me, do you bleed? Yes, they actually do bleed. Here, I can show you. Bam! Oh, John. But yes, he is that strong. His speed is tricky because he's able to fly in space at very high speeds. You could easily argue he's light speed because of him keeping up with Superman and other characters. I'm not sure about the Cap, but he's definitely light speed, which if you really think about it, that's not that hard to believe because, again, Justice League and some of the adventures they've gone on. Anyway, his big thing outside of that is his mental capabilities. His mind is able to project telepathy, or obviously his thoughts, illusions. He could even, and this is true, he could even go into your mind and change how you think. Okay, so here's what happened. There was a story where the Joker, everyone's favorite villain, the Joker got it's a MacGuffin to rewrite reality, and the Justice League, even with their most powerful members, could not get to Joker to stop him and get the MacGuffin away. So what did John do? He went into Joker's mind and made him sane. This is true. It didn't work. It didn't hold. For various reasons, mostly plot, but he was that powerful that he was able to calm the storm of Joker's mind and turn chaotic thoughts into order long enough for Joker to feel bad and thus give the MacGuffin away so that they could save the universe. So that's how powerful he is. Upon his death, yes, he has died, he actually projected both his memories and the history of Mars into the various members of the Justice League, despite the fact that they were an incredible distance away. So, yeah, that's not even talking about his telekinesis and certain other mental abilities that he has. And, of course, he's got shape-shifting. He can change his body into just about anything he wants. He's healing, makes it so he can heal from a puddle, Deadpool style. He's that good. And so it's almost amazing that he did die. In the comics, canonically, and I'm, again, just the comics, he died after an attack from multiple villains who were torturing him during the acts of Final Crisis, including Libra and Vandal Savage, who eventually stabbed his heart and killed him. I don't know the full details about this, but it was a canonical death, all right? And the reason I can prove that is that in Blackest Night, he was resurrected as one of the Black Lanterns, and he wrecked a lot of people. Like, the Justice League went after him, and he's just like, nope. Then, in Brightest Day, he was resurrected a second time, in a better way, and he eventually became an elemental of Earth to fight the Dark Force, which was Swamp Thing, which helped bring Wildstorm back into the DCU officially. So, and since then, various other adventures have transpired. But he is easily one of the best Justice League members. He's a beloved character. I loved learning about him in the Justice League cartoon, which is my biggest influence from him. Also, his appearance in Supergirl was a shock that I think no one saw coming, and it was really well handled. And you could argue that the actor who played him was masterful in handling Jean and his story over the years, including the lead up to Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW. It was really good. So, yeah, John Jones, or however you want to call him, he is an incredible superhero. He survived the death of his entire planet and keeps fighting for Earth because he knows that this is a planet worth protecting. And that's pretty cool to me. Alright, next up we have Norrin Radd, tubular dude, from Zen La, who was raised... Okay, I know how Death Battle defined it, but they left out a lot of stuff, like how he was born into a perfect society, even though it was anything but perfect. But eventually Galactus showed up, and to stop the annihilation of his planet, he became Galactus's herald, and would offer various planets to the World Eater in return for sparing Zen La. Seriously, these names. Norrin Radd, Zen La. Yeah, brah. So, he did this fine for about 100 years, as the preview noted, and then he made a mistake, offered up a populated planet, had his memories and emotions suppressed, and he's kept offering populated worlds until he went to Earth, where after the influence of Alicia Masters in the Fantastic Four, he became good again and became one of the best heroes and characters that the MCU's ever seen. Side note, Alicia Masters is a boss, alright? Like, she has canonically changed the hearts of so many people in the MCU, not the least of which was Silver Surfer, The Thing, Johnny Storm, the last two she's married. Seriously, even though the Johnny Storm one was a Skrull. Comics, everybody. Uh, but this is where the story gets interesting. Not with Alicia, but with Silver Surfer. Uh, Once he stopped Galactus from devouring the Earth, he was stuck there. Yeah. See, Galactus was so ticked, he literally constructed a barrier around the Earth so the Silver Surfer could not get out. So he was basically isolated for the world for canonically 10 years. Like, they state that in the comic, because Galactus eventually came back and met Silver Surfer or whatever, and it had been 10 years since the barrier had gone up. So, in that time, and time is it? Time, huh? Oh, trust me, we're going to have a big time moment coming up. He wandered the world and basically tried, and honestly failed, to understand humanity and help it in numerous ways. He did things that were great. He did things that were not so great. He had to be rescued multiple times, including being tricked by Dr. Doom. Happens to everybody, buddy. And so on and so forth. Eventually, he was able to leave Earth through various means and became a galactic wanderer, going across the stars, trying to help where he could. And through that, in his adventures on Earth, he became part of multiple groups, not least of which was a honorary member of the Fantastic Four, the Defenders, the Annihilators, and more. And this is where, I don't know, should I go into the Dan Slott story? Okay? Should I go into that? Should I wait? Let's wait for that one. Let's go into the powers, because the big thing about the Silver Surfer is he is not just a superpowered being. He is the power cosmic. Alright? When Galactus blessed him to be his herald, he blessed Norrad with the power cosmic, which transformed him into the Silver Surfer, which, by the way, was a childlike projection from his memories. So, yeah, that's why he looks that way. Because he wanted to be an adventurer, not a scientist. Anyway. So, because of this, he has a crap ton of power, which makes sense because Galactus obviously wants someone who can help him get worlds and defeat foes and protect him. Because, in case you didn't know this, Galactus is actually a natural part of the universe. He is necessary, kind of like Beerus in a Dragon Ball, which I'm sure there was a direct reference to that. But yes, Galactus is needed, and the Heralds know this, as does Reed Richards. And so he has to feed him planets, and thus the Silver Surfer will do his job so long as it doesn't conflict with his emotions and personal beliefs. But through that, he has an incredible amount of power. Not just physical power, as Martian Manhunter, but beyond that. So like John, which I'm sorry I forgot to mention this, he has heat vision. He has various energy blasts he can do. He can absorb energy and redirect it. His board is actually technically the source of his power, kind of, sort of. It depends on how you look at it. Well, some people have stolen the board and gotten the power cosmic. But anyway, matter manipulation, he's used that on an incredible amount of levels, and he's shown his precision with it numerous times over the years. He actually, at one time, I'm saying this phrase a lot, but I'm going to continue to say it, and this is true. He once actually created world peace by showering Earth in cosmic energy. Okay. Sure. It didn't work. It didn't last, obviously, but hey, A for effort, dude. He's transformed, solids into gases, liquids into solids. He's recreated cities on his own, and then with the help of Dr. Fate, he's rebuilt cities after widespread destruction. While he cannot raise the dead, that's important. While he cannot raise the dead, he is able to heal people on a molecular level, to the point where he was able to cure entire diseases, just wipe them out from a planet. That's an incredible amount of matter manipulation that we don't even think about. Yeah, and it just builds up from there. But another key thing is his cosmic senses. Because he's power cosmic, his senses go far, far beyond anything we can understand. For example, he can sense Galactus millions upon millions of light years away. He even said once that he could tell that Johnny Storm was about to die, even though he was half a universe away. That's how That's how in tune with the universe he is. Another thing is that he can apparently see past, present, and future all at the same time, which at times makes him seem like he has precognitive abilities. He doesn't, and he's been beaten plenty of times, but he is able to see time much differently. And no, that's not the time moment. We're getting there. In terms of speed, one could argue this is his greatest feat. He is able to go at such faster than light speeds, it's like ridiculous. Okay? Because not only can he travel many, many, many times the speed of light. Like, it's specifically stated that he's traveled light years plural, in a second. Just 1 second. So forget miles per hour. This is light years per second. All right? But he has the ability to teleport and travel, create portals to travel through hyperspace. If you remember Thanos versus Darkseid, there was a shot where Thanos was said to keep up with Silver Surfer, and Silver Surfer couldn't go so many miles or times the speed of light. Well, part of that was due to how he could create portals in hyperspace and just go through those. But even without the portals, which we can't fully discount those because it's a good feat, he is many, many, many times the speed of light. I'm talking I'm sure it's gonna be a big number. I should be like many zeros. All right, that's how fast he is, and it makes sense because he is a galactic traveler. He literally surfs across the stars to do various things. But his eternal struggle, which he has literally struggled with, is that despite all his good intentions, he never really gets the peace and happiness that he desires, and he never fully gets the results that he wants, which is why he has been defeated so many times, and technically has died many, many times. Technically, it's comics, everybody. But before I go into the time moment, I want to know one thing. In terms of matter manipulation, just to give you a greater scale, when he fought Null, King of Black, Null easily overpowered him, which is understandable. He's one of the primordial beings. But in a moment of desperation, Silver Surfer literally created a sun in his hand and threw it at Null, and the blast shot Null light years away. Okay, so that's the scale of matter manipulation in terms of power that he can do. But and when you combine all the other things, he's really, really powerful. So here's the time moment, all right? Because many of you likely know that Silver Surfer had a legendary comic arc written by the amazing Dan Slott, who of course he did Spider-Man for many, 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 many years. In his plot, he met a woman named Dawn Greenwood, who was, according to a villain who summoned her, the most important person in Silver Surfer's life. Problem, he didn't know her at all. So what's going on here? So after saving her, they eventually would go on adventures together, and like many superhero stories, she was like the balancing act to his various things, and she had to cope with what he was before and all that. And eventually her father died while they were out amongst the stars. And after some misadventures, Silver Surfer, agrees to go back in time to meet her, let her see her father one more time before he passes. A very noble gesture. Totally is not going to screw with the timeline, right, Doctor Who? It's timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly holes. Problem, he overshot. I don't know how. I don't know why. But he overshot. And not only did he overshoot by billions of years, he literally went to where the universe was before the Big Bang. Yep. And he couldn't go home. For some reason, he could not travel back home. So what is a Silver Surfer to do? Oh, I'll tell you. This is real. He and Dawn, who was still with him, obviously, just decided to travel the universe and wait for the universe to be born. And that's what they did. And so they spent decades upon decades just wandering the stars, exploring and being with one another. And they got married. And eventually, Silver Surfer converted Dawn's body into energy and shot it into the Big Bang, making her, this happened, making her the first light of the universe and unintentionally creating the power cosmic, which is why power cosmic is red and black dots after the outfit that Dawn wore. Oh, but that's not the time hop moment. That's not it. Because, remember, the Silver Surfer is still in the present. So not unlike a certain Doctor Doom, he just waited for the present to come back. Canonically, Silver Surfer is almost 14 billion years old. So don't talk to him about time. He has all the tips. So yeah. But even despite his incredibly long life, journeys, successes, failures, captures, beatdowns, saving the universe, saving numerous planets, saving the Avengers, saving the Fantastic Four, saving a lot of people, he's going to keep going because he knew that that's what Dawn would want for him. He knew that that's what Alicia and the Fantastic Four and all his friends he's made along the way, that they will want for him. And because he knows that life is worth preserving. And that's all the goal that this Herald could ever need. Alright, so who wins in a fight between Martian Manhunter and Silver Surfer? Okay, look. The obvious answer is Silver Surfer. And that is who I'm going to pick. But it was close for a while as I was doing my research, because both of these men are invulnerable creatures when they want to be. They both can be intangible. They both have mental capabilities, various energy powers. They both can possess one another, have various amounts of resistances and access to certain things. But the thing that really got me going is, can Silver Surfer resist Jean's mind control? Which is interesting because we just had two telepaths go at it with Phoenix and Raven. I was curious about this because if you look up his wiki, it does not say that the Silver Surfer has a direct resistance to telepathy. But that doesn't mean he hasn't experienced it. Yes, the Silver Surfer has been beaten multiple times, but only once that I found was it by mental, and most people agree it was bullcrap because it was Doctor Strange doing it. So here's the thing. In one cosmic adventure, he had to save a woman who was being held hostage by an entity known as the Other, which was is specifically stated to be an entity of consciousness on par with Galactus. All right? And the Other tried to overwhelm Norrin's mind. He didn't like that at all. So what he did was he channeled the power cosmic into his mind to superpower his superpowers, and in this case his telepathy, and he literally wiped out the realm of consciousness that the Other and its servants were upon. It just he's like, okay, this guy's a little bit more powerful than me. I probably should superpower my telepathy and psionic abilities, and then he did that and then wiped them all out. A being on par with Galactus. That's pretty impressive. And that was, for me, the only real hurdle, because the other thing that he can do, which he has done to beings of immeasurable strength, including the Hulk, he can shut your powers off. Yeah. So you see, if you really want to think about it, the Silver Surfer is kind of like, to use a recent reference, the Marvel version of Raven. You don't see the Silver Surfer at full power all the time because A, that would be boring, like a Superman situation, and B, the writers just don't want to show you that because he is that powerful. Not to mention it would go against Norrin's inherent nature where he's trying to hold back. Like, remember the speed feat I told you about? He intentionally doesn't like to go above Mach 10 because he's trying not to scare people. Such a nice guy. But yeah, so he could shut Jean's powers down. He could matter manipulate him into nothing. He can, or he could create things to just evaporate him. Like, okay, the fire thing. Martians technically are weak to fire because of the Guardians of the Universe. Not getting into that. Think of like the Green Lantern's weak to wood thing. It's like that. But Jean overcame that, ironically, after falling in love with a fire wielder. It's complicated, but so that won't destroy him, and it won't like immediately, weaken him. But again, the Silver Surfer can also summon a freaking star and just evaporate him that way. Also, with his way faster speed, not to mention teleportation, dimensional travel, he could easily overwhelm Jean that way. His power is easily on par with some of the heaviest hitters in the Marvel Universe, which can stack up with DC pretty well. Not to mention he's fought Galactus and seriously hurt him, and that was the guy who gave him the freaking powers in the first place. He's gone against Thanos, he's gone against the Hulk, he's gone against plenty of guys with overwhelming power. And while the telepathy would have been a hard thing for Norrin to get around, if he's battled an entity of pure consciousness, he can fight John Jones. So while I love the Martian Manhunter, and he's a great character, and of the two, I definitely prefer Jean to Norrin Rad, I'm definitely picking the Silver Surfer to win this fight. So with that, I'm in this episode of Todd Talk. Who do you think is going to win between the Silver Surfer and the Martian Manhunter? Let me know in the comments below. So I thank you for watching. Me as far I know you were listening, and I'll see you around.